Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mindplex podcast. Welcome to a special edition of the Mindplex podcast, where we are here in Singapore at the SuperAI conference. And today we are talking to Kate Ianishevska, the co-founder and CPO of PrivateAI. Welcome to the show, Kate.
Yes, hello, everybody.
So let's talk a little bit about the features of PrivateAI and how it was developed.
Yeah, so basically, following our background, we have been entrepreneurs in the biotech and Web3 space for many years, and we've always struggled to find an investable product in what people call decentralized science nowadays. So because when people are speaking about decentralized science, it's usually neither science nor it is decentralized. So initially, we've started with developing a storage solution that could help people from the academia to optimize the way how they process the data. But again, so if you give people storage, then what? So they store the data, but that's where the cycle ends. So if there are no customers and if there is no direct implementation pipeline, so that's the sort of idea, it dies down where it started, at the storage place. So we don't want to help people bury their data. We want people to have it discovered, to have their IP rights acknowledged, and have their intellectual property be well used to train next-gen LLMs, both for private and for public use. So I would say personally, we are very concerned about data graveyards. About that so many awesome things are being hidden in the labs, are being closed, are not published. Founders lose hope, and they are afraid of premature data disclosures, so they don't really share the data in open sources. So lots of cool ideas, they never materialize, and we've seen many founders trying to fly up to the sun and then getting burned, and becoming completely disillusioned with the space of innovation. So we are here to change it. And so after multiple iterations, we've arrived at an idea when, instead of creating just a platform, we do the whole vertical. So first of all, we've identified the problem that people who want to become parts of AI economy, they don't really know anything about the formats, about how exactly they should sort their data. So they come to VCs, they come to potential co-founders on the business side with just SQL tables or data which is extremely unstructured and disorganized, mainly files which probably make sense for the people in the labs, but make no sense to people in the commercial world. So we've decided to take the whole burden of data preprocessing off the shoulders of people who are on the discovery side, because we think that they shouldn't be bothered with trying to prune and clean and make this data machine readable, because we totally can do it on our platform and just hide the entire process from them. Make it as easy as you upload a PDF, you upload a file, you click on a button, you receive your file processed and ready for machine learnings. So then you can either take your materials to Hugging Face or to a similar popular places to run the inference, or you can keep it on the platform. You can rely on us to source data buyers and protect the privacy and identity of the entities or persons who uploaded it. So how do we achieve it? We are working with 6 different universities, globally based, starting from EPFL to Oxford University. We became a part of Oxbridge AI Society. We've built good connections with the Technological University of Istanbul. So we do stuff from the mindset and from the viewpoint of the researchers. So they believe that one of the major problems about their mistrust of AI is that they don't really think that AI is taking right sources into consideration. And that academic mindset is very rigid. So they want those papers to be Q1 rated. So they want the terminology standardized. Otherwise, they can't really use the synthetic data in their future research publications, because everyone fears retraction. So we are using several cutting-edge solutions to pre-train the model to perform data filtering and data processing, particularly taking into account the academic publishing standards. So what we do is we are using a tool called Space LLMs. It's quite new, and it's also limited. It's also limited mostly to the usage for lab environments and for biomedical data. But actually it's much superior to Mistral 7B, because that Space LLMs. It's not yet widely recognized, but it's ace at discovering semantic linkages between multiple entities in the texts, and it's especially good at processing biomedical data and clinical trial reports. So digital clinical trial application forms. So basically the model sees the connection between all those entities and are able to deliver a succinct but perfect to use structures.
Very interesting. Tell us about your dynamic knowledge graph implementation.
So basically, people have been talking about knowledge graphs, I think, since 70s. So it's not the new term, but somehow people always ask us, why we haven't ever heard about the knowledge graphs. So the thing is that knowledge graphs is a less sexier part of AI, because it's sort of, but knowledge graphs, they provide context for LLMs. It's not, but for the Web3 community, for the community of new AI users, so they don't see the value of AI beyond generating, visuals, generating images, something where you can see an instant result without delving deeper into the intricacy of the model. But the whole, in our opinion, the whole knowledge graph things, they didn't receive, let's say, those massive public understanding, because it's very hard to maintain the relevancy of the knowledge graph. So, for instance, right now, most of the knowledge graph-based systems, they are sold on B2B, because they are only fine-tuned for a single use case. Because then it's a lot of burden for the company to keep to maintain the relevancy of all the linkages inside the knowledge graph. So, for instance, let's say if it's a knowledge graph to deliver treatment to cancer patients, so somebody should take care of the whole infrastructure. So if there are any RAG models developed by external customers, so somebody should make sure that every time the mother graph is updated, so any other builder, any other entity receives a notification, because they would need to fine-tune their model to make sure that all the recent stats are correct. So this is not ideal, because it takes a lot of manual back and forth. So most of the companies whom we interviewed, when we were discussing PrivateAI, so they say that they are not looking into extrapolation of their single use knowledge graphs, because they will again have to bring in human in the loop stuff to verify the type of connections within the knowledge graph. So somebody will need to polish the data. Somebody will need to remove faulty linkages and connections in case the model couldn't detect it immediately. So nobody really wants to bother with that. So they do want to deliver a one-time solution which could be used in a very limited number of use cases. So even for the open source knowledge graphs, there is a huge limitation again about data sources. For instance, there are several large university-based attempts to map longevity industry, or to map the current landscape of the clinical trials, but those graphs, they've been published a year ago. And if you go to the university databases, and if you try to, let's say, to access it, you won't be able to find the information about who's actually responsible for the state of art, for the state of data on its graph. So because, for instance, in the clinical trials area, I would say the whole value add comes from companies not having to explore all the number of multiple use cases to find a new application for the drug. Because because the more data you have on the entity linkages, for instance, how drugs in one group connect to each other and how they perform within similar patient environment. So the more you know, so the less you need to spend at recruiting the right kind of people for your clinical trials. So that's where the most value is derived. But for that, all the data, you need to make sure that all the data is relevant as of today, not a year ago, not 2 years ago. So somebody needs to be responsible. Somebody needs to demonstrate the whole process to potential investors, funds. Somebody needs to make sure that, like in Bloomberg Terminal, so the news appear instantly and the graph is instantly self-modified. So that's where our, let's say, our expert knowledge of Web3 comes into picture. And so we were looking at multiple ways to achieve, in crypto there is this fancy word, it's called data sovereignty. So like you don't need to depend on third parties to take full control of your data. So we do apply the same, the same approach to knowledge graphs. So we use a number of Tendermint-based validator nodes, which record the metadata about every input in the graph. And so we encourage data scientists on the platform to support the whole infrastructure of that makes sure that all the new publications on arXiv, bioRxiv, or on PubMed, they are instantly fed into the core knowledge graph, as it happens, for instance, in the news broadcasts. So like all the all the fresh data is instantly captured and is fed into, like, let's say, into terminals. So that's the same structure is how we do that. So the new model, which I would say was only published 3 weeks ago, but it shows much promise, is OpenBio LLMs. So they are developed by a small laboratory called SAMA. It's called SAMA Labs. It's a new one. It didn't yet have wide recognition. But we would say that this new model is expert at capturing those instant changes and is able, and we can instantly build a Python script on top of it to make sure that data is captured properly. On the Web3 side space, if you want to delve into technological details, we work a lot with Swarm. So that's a node. So Swarm was developed by Ethereum co-founder Victor Tron, and so who's also a big enthusiast about fair data principles and about the needs to standardize data, the type how data is structured for the use in machine learning. So we also use their core data processing principles in order to make our ecosystem to be easy to tune into and just start developing awesome things from day one.
Wow. All right, great. Well, thank you so much. This has really been fascinating, learning about PrivateAI and the awesome behind the scenes technical details. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon. Sweet dreams.
Thank you.